Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius. Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video game about defending your bed, a book about how to be amazing, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing David Weinberger. David is a business intelligence analyst for a large company called Indeed. They help people find jobs.
Hey, welcome. Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, you're welcome. And today we're going to start off with the video of the week, and this is going to be a battle for the bed.
Oh boy.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
And now it's time for the video game of the week. Today's video game is Bed Wars. This is a game on the Minecraft platform, and because it is on Minecraft, you are able to play it on PC and Xbox. But you have to have a Minecraft account, and also it was made by Mojang. So how to play this game is you walk up to a person that is on a Minecraft block. Then you click on them and then press play match. Then you wait for a second and then you're in a match. You have an iron generator. Then you have to go to the iron shop to buy some materials, but then you have to defend your bed as well. So you have to build these blocks to the other islands. Last, realize when you walk away, your bed might get destroyed and lost. And then if you fall or get killed, you lose the game. So be careful after you lose your bed. Also, I have levels. So I'm level 20, and I am pretty bad at the game, but I love it.
I'm unfamiliar, but that sounds really exciting. I mean, as someone who,
It's really fun. You might want to play it.
oh man, maybe I'll have to check it after. As someone who likes to get 10 hours of sleep, I am all for any bed, or I guess rather sleeping related activities. So sounds like definitely my cup of tea.
Well, I mean, it is a fighting game, so I don't know.
Oh, sleep. Trust me, when you get to my age, sleep is a struggle.
Oh, yeah. Well, I asked my dad to play with me, and well, he's a Bed Wars master somehow.
Whoa.
And we just had fun destroying other people's beds and destroying them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What was his? Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was gonna say, what was his secret technique that made him so good at it?
His secret technique is just bow spamming.
Oh god, that's like back in the fighting games where you just spam one button and then you beat your friend that owned it and then they just didn't really want to play it anymore. Yeah, that's right, Kyle. I remember that from second grade. Can't play.
Ow! Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we had to stop playing Street Fighter after that.
Well, I give Bed Wars 11 out of 10 stars because you have to have fun bridging from island to island. I like this game because the controls are different and you have to strategize and have fun at the same time.
Oh man, is 11 like your highest score, or do some games get a 12 or even a 13 out of 11?
Some people get 10, but I did give like a dancing one that my dad hated a million out of 10 stars because it was funny.
Oh, I'm all for it.
See David Smith Law.com. You can call him at 407-801-2667. Wait, you are not Chuck. My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help people. If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck. You can call him at 407-801-2667. That website again is cwsmithlaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's? Now it's time for the book of the week. Be amazing. This book is written by John Humphreys. Let me to the back of the book. In fact, David, would you like to do the honors?
Prepare to be amazing. Begin by believing. E. Escape your fear. A. Access your imagination. M. Make a plan. A. Act on your plan. Z. Zest for life. I. Inner child needs love. That one hits close. N. Needs to help others. G. Good times. John is he the world's youngest motivational speaker, and he has been called the pebble that stars the ripple. Sorry, yeah, stars the ripple.
Well, this is not an error book, so you don't get any points for reading it.
Aw, man.
Yeah. But as you might know John Humphreys, he was on my radio show. he talked about his magical performances in writing books. Well, this is one of the books that he's written about being amazing in some quotes. So first, John says that you have to believe in yourself, and also he talks about letting go of your fear and accessing your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he talks about making and acting out a plan for your future, and more importantly, he talks about creating a zest for learning. And learning creates a zest for life. So next, he includes some workbooks and guides and a plan and follow it. So all of that stands for be amazing. Did you see that?
I like that. I like that. That's smart.
Well, I give Be Amazing 9 out of 10 stars because it was cool that Be Amazing stands for a lot of different things. And it's pretty neat that I got to interview John every once in a while and get to have a play date.
Ooh. So what could I have done differently to gain that 1 extra point back? I know I'm giving you the hard questions. I know I should have warmed you up more.
They added color to the pictures.
Ooh, there you go. Well, actually, nothing's stopping you, right? You could make your own 10 out of 10 version, sell it back to them. That's what we do in the business.
Mid-State Fire has been providing top-quality fire equipment services for 3 generations to the Central Florida area. Don't wait for an emergency to repair. Call Mid-State Fire today at 407-246-8855. Get your fire extinguishers and emergency lighting for both your home and businesses by visiting www.midstatefire.com. That number again is 407-246-8855.
And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's test is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing David Weinberger.
Hello. I would dab, but I don't think kids do that anymore, right?
Well, David is a business intelligence analyst for a large company called Indeed. They help people find jobs.
Yeah. So that's where I work at Indeed. We are actually the largest job site in the world, which is always surprising because I think people usually think like LinkedIn or Monster, but it's pretty awesome. Just really helping people find jobs. And I'm on a really cool team called the ESG, the Environmental Social Governance team in particular, where we're really focused on just really figuring out how do we get jobs for the people that most need them.
Nice. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
Oh, I'm having a blast. This, by far, the best podcast recording I've been on today. No question.
Nice. Okay, so you do intelligence analyst.
Yeah,
tell listeners what that means.
Yeah, so it means that. Let me see. So essentially what I do is a lot of people want to know what the data means. Like how much revenue are we generating? How are people getting hired? But the problem is there's just so much data. There's millions of records because we are hiring, there are millions of people getting jobs on Indeed. So how do you really get the value out of that data? So my job is I take the data and I turn it into a format where people a lot smarter than me, the actual intelligence people are actually able to do an analysis. Like for instance, I was working on something where Indeed did the largest survey about employee happiness in the world, where we had 91 million survey results. So obviously you can't go through that. So what I can do is I can use computers to actually go through it for us and turn it into, instead of millions of results, hundreds of results that have been really, combined. So we can say, oh, these types of companies have this many happy employees, these countries. And so we can really figure out what makes people happy to go to their jobs.
Nice. So how long have you been doing this?
So I actually just got promoted about 5 months ago, and before that, I was on the sales team in a similar role, and that I started in March of 2018. So I've been at Indeed for 3.5 years, where it's kind of crazy. Where I think Indeed has more than sorry.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I'm like now one of the longest term employees because it's like we've doubled in size since I started, which is kind of nuts.
Jeez, wow. So what was the reason that you decided that this was the go-to job for you?
Oh, man. So I joined Indeed in the first place because my friend Ben, who referred me, really enjoyed it. And then I actually switched teams because my manager was like, hey, David, you've been doing this for 3.5 years. Why don't you go do something else? I'm tired of managing you because I can be a real pain now. It just seemed like a really exciting thing where rather than just helping salespeople, I'm now really helping to actually bring some value to society. How do we make Indeed be an environmental company? How do we do it where we can improve hiring opportunities of people of color or women? And that really means that I get to do a job where I was using my existing skills, growing, but also really getting to empower a really important message to society.
Well, Well, just take a lot of formal training to be able to be a business analyst.
So I did go to business school where I had an MIS degree. So I would say it really helped. I was fortunate that I really got to directly apply what I learned in school, but that shouldn't stop anyone. Really, the most important thing is not so much what you've learned, but how you think. Like in interviews, I've been interviewing people for a role, and some people actually are applying for completely different roles. But I'm like to my manager, hey, this person would actually be really good on our team because they just approach problems where that's the biggest sign is to go into a little bit, it's really you want to look for are these people that can take big problems and build them into little problems and figure out how you prioritize and organize them. And not a lot of people can do that. If you say, hey, I want you to make a report that shows our 9 key goals and make it that everyone in the leadership can see it, not a lot of people will say, okay, well, here's the 100 things we need to do that. Someone will say, wow, that just sounds like a crazy huge task. I don't know where to start.
Wow. So, what type of things do you analyze?
So right now, as I mentioned, we really have 3 main areas. So it can vary. So like one of them, I actually am just pulling data on how to make Indeed carbon neutral, looking at stuff like how much did each office spend, how much electricity did we use, how much were people having to commute, or it can be things like how do we make it that we're able to help first-time job seekers in India. So that's the really cool thing about ESG is we have all of these 3 major fields. And really, they have different goals and different needs, unlike sales, where it was really just how do we improve how much money we bring in.
Okay. So how does that help the company that you work for?
So it really helps the company. First, there is an internal element where it just makes sure that Indeed is running well. Do we have happy employees? Do we have a diverse company? Because diversity is such a powerful thing because you don't want to be surrounded by people that think like you. There's a lot of ton of really intelligent people that may be different ages, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, and everyone approaches problems differently. And so if you have a group-minded think, you're going to have everyone trying to solve problems the same way, which may not be the same solution, or you might not even be able to bring out the answer out of people because no one knows a different approach. Another really interesting thing is just how we also are able to just really kind of be able to give back to the community. Indeed is such a large company. We have over 11,000 people. And we want to make sure that we stand as a bastion of being a really well-known company. No one wants to see their company name in the headlines. We don't want to, be the next Activision. We don't want to be the next Enron. We want it that people really appreciate and respect the brand. And it also means that people are excited to come to Indeed and are happy to, which really means that we can get some really, really smart people working at the company. Like for instance, we actually just had our head of economics, I believe either is or has left to go work for the Biden administration as a lead economist, which just really shows the kind of really awesome talent we have at the company.
Okay. So the only way that I knew about Indeed was when I was scrolling on YouTube when you see those like ads and stuff.
Yeah.
I saw an Indeed ad.
Oh my. Oh well, thank you. I get paid every time you watch one of those.
But
so I made
now I know Indeed from you.
Oh well, thank you.
So what's the coolest part about being a data analyst?
I think the fact is you just really get to figure out clever solutions to hard problems. And it's just so satisfying where someone maybe has like a really annoying process and you figure out how do I automate it so they can get hours of their day back. So like, for instance, we had this dude every week would literally take like a CSV, like a data file, copy and paste it into a source, and then we used it. And I just turned that into an automated process. So now he gets like 30 minutes of his week back because he just doesn't have to do this really annoying manual process anymore.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. So what have you learned about yourself while doing this job?
I think I've learned a lot about really just prioritization because Indeed ESG literally has only existed for a few months. So it's kind of like a startup. No one really knows what they want, but everyone wants something. And you have to figure out how do I approach it and also figure out who do I talk to? What is the overlap? How do I prevent redundant work? And how do I build things that are going to grow? Like ESG is a 10-year goal. So we literally have made goals right now that we are hoping to hit in 2030. And so that means that you have to think really far in advance and predict where things are going to go in a way that you didn't in sales, which is much more based on the current quarter.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Does the company make changes based on your reports, or do they just say that they will think about it?
tricky situation just because everything is so new. Like a lot of our reports just don't exist yet because literally the data isn't mature enough. But yeah, we've seen a lot of really great changes. Like Indeed actually has an active QA every 2 weeks. And unfortunately, since a lot of our data is internal facing, I just have to be careful and not really give answers about changes. But yeah, at my time in Indeed, I've seen a lot of very substantial changes. Like for instance, our entire work from home policy was based on the data where we decided everyone could just pick rather than forcing people to be split or forcing people to come in. They said just pick what you're comfortable with, and that was really in part with a lot of the kind of data we've been working with in ESG towards employee happiness in their current life situations.
Well, nice, but do you get to see the changes?
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm working. It's why I'm in my house right now, because they made that decision about when people had to come back into the office or if they even needed to. So I'm directly feeling it right now for sure.
Oh yeah, I think you want to stay home.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do for school.
Yeah. I'm also lucky enough that I'm in a place in my life where a lot of the ESG stuff, like I don't have to look for a job. I don't have to worry about the struggles of being a minority or a woman as a white man. And so that's why, as much as I can appreciate the changes and know for society how it helps society as a whole, ultimately it doesn't directly impact me in such a meaningful way, just because I do have that privilege of being a white man in this country.
So what's the hardest part about being a business data analyst?
I mean, I think a big part of it is ultimately having to explain a lot of technical concepts and non-technical people. Luckily, I've met a lot of really awesome people that are understanding, but it is still a challenge how people sometimes give you data in a format that isn't usable to you, and you have to sit down and explain it. Like today, I actually had to do that with someone who was very reciprocant. So I really appreciate, and that I had to say, hey, you can't put the data like this. Like say colors. If you did like a chart and you had like certain numbers in different colors, machines can't really understand that very easily. So you have to explain, hey, you need a field saying what the colors mean that is machine readable, which just as a person, you would think, oh, if I strike something through, that means the data should be ignored, right? A machine can't understand that. It's just going to read it anyway because it doesn't notice that kind of formatting. And so those are some of the challenges when you're working with people that are not used to working with people in my field.
Well, what's the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your job?
Craziest thing? Man, what do you mean by craziest?
So what's the craziest thing that's happened while you were doing your job?
I mean, I can tell you a story that's not 100% job related, but would you like to hear this crazy thing I did for my boss's birthday?
Sure.
Okay, so my boss before I switched teams, his name was Big Tony, as I like to call him. He hated that nickname, but anyway, so Big Tony, I met someone who ran a bakery and they specialized in making cookies that looked like people's faces. So I actually paid for them and organized them to make cookies that looked like my manager's face for his 30th birthday. And so, yeah, so they delivered a box of 10 Big Tony cookies that look, and I actually have a photo of Big Tony holding one of the Big Tony cookies. I wish I had like one of the cookies just with me, but it's great. The funniest thing though is I think they reused a mold from Obama and they just colored it to look like him, because everyone literally was like, "This cookie, why does this cookie look like Obama?" But yeah, so I think that's about the craziest thing I've ever done at work.
Wow, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, if you could think of one thing that would make your job easier, what would it be?
Oh God, I think probably having more people. I am the only person in my role on my team, and we probably need 2 or 3 more people. I have like maybe 20 things on my to-do list. My manager just pings me all the time. I mean, it's exciting and it's definitely great to work that muscle of prioritizing. But my goodness, it would really be nice if I didn't have to literally be the only one who can do my job on my team right now.
Well, maybe when I'm 21 in like the next 11 years, maybe I could help you out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really fun industry if that's what you're interested in.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely send me an email in 10 years. If I'm still at Indeed. Well, that'll be when we see if our 10-year goals. So it'll be a very exciting time to join the team, actually.
Well, now you're about to say you also have your own podcast, like me.
Yes, I sure do.
Can you tell me more about that?
Oh, it would be my pleasure. So I run a podcast called Shonen Flop. So me and my host and a guest, what we do is there's a magazine called Shonen Jump. Have you ever heard of like anime or manga like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z or One Piece? Do you have like a favorite?
Classroom.
Yes, Assassination Classroom too. Wow. I love that. I've actually been watching it with my girlfriend. I love that series.
I want to watch it so bad, but my mom won't let me.
Oh, the dude actually has a new series about a 10-year-old called It's like the Runaway Samurai or something. But yeah, check it out. So if you're looking for literally the protagonist is 10, so it might be Your Calling. It's by the same guy. The start is a little weird, just a heads up for your dad if you do want to check it out. And then the weirder parts kind of get ironed out, but it's a fun series. Elusive Samurai. Sorry, the Elusive Samurai is the name of it. I enjoy it. But yeah, so though for every series like that, though, there's probably 5 series that were a complete failure. Like, did you ever watch My Hero Academia?
I want to. Because
Okay.
everyone's been talking about it. I swear.
So did you know that guy made 2 series that lasted like 6 months and got canceled?
Ow.
Yeah. So that's what we do is we just look at series like that and say, what did it do wrong? What did it do right? And ultimately, was it a flop or not? And it's really exciting. Yeah, you look at a lot of really interesting, like the dude who made Naruto, he had a series that just kind of fell apart after because he just couldn't do it again. People like the creator of Black Clover, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, My Hero Academia, all have had series that they did before they really had their big hits. And it's really interesting to read that stuff. Yeah. And we've had a lot of really fun guests. We've had the official translator of Naruto. We've had Tim Batt, who runs The Worst Idea of All Time, where this dude watched Grown Ups 2 every single day for a year. And we actually even just had a comic book artist who had a series called Kaiju Max, which is about a prison for giant monsters. So it's been a lot of fun having that show.
Cool. Well, how can one get to go see or hear your podcast?
Oh, I appreciate you asking. So our website is shonenflop.com. You can find us on Twitter as well at shonenflopcast, and we're on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, wherever you want. We actually had some podcasters saying we base where we release our show based on where we can find Shonen Flop. So I guess I've hit the gold standard of where I should be releasing my podcast. And I appreciate if people could check us out. And just even send a tweet or an email or join our Discord saying, hey, I found your show because of your show. I really appreciate to always hear how people find out about our show.
Okay. Well, what was the first job that you ever had?
So my first job, do you want me to include like pre-college or my first like job after I graduated?
First job after you graduated.
So my first job is I actually worked at Whirlpool, which is like the washer and dryer. And in there I was a GIS analyst. So I have been very lucky that pretty much every role I've had since I graduated was directly based on what my degree was, which I know is not very common. And in that, are you familiar with Whirlpool?
Mm-mm.
So they make like washers, dryers. They own things like KitchenAid, Amina, Maytag. And so that company, Indeed sounds big at 11,000 people. Whirlpool is more like 100,000 people. And they need to know where are their laptops, where their software. And so I was the person who really ran our inventory system and figured out how do we best utilize our resources to make sure that Whirlpool is being efficient with how they purchase new inventory for our employees.
Mm-hmm. Well, who helped motivate or inspire you the most in following your dreams?
Oh man, following my dreams, man. I don't even know what my dream is. I joke to my girlfriend about being a stay-at-home podcast dad, so maybe that's the dream. So we'll see in 10 years. So I might not work at Indeed actually if I become a stay-at-home. But yeah, I would say, I've had a lot of really fantastic people in my life give me motivation, like my high school teacher, Mr. V, who he's an awesome dude. He got me into comic books. He's actually a New York Times bestselling author of he wrote a sex ed for high school students. So that was really cool. And then I've had some really awesome managers. I've had some really great teachers. I've had some mentors like Kurt or Sean Hansen in college, or my manager Heidi, who she was this really crazy, sassy lady. She retired to become a farmer of a certain crop that is not legal in this state. So I'll leave it at that. But that's what she does nowadays. But yeah, so I've really just had a lot of really awesome people inspire me. And, I'm sorry, I can't mention everyone that's been a big help, but I do appreciate everyone that's helped me get to where I am these days. And of course, my wonderful girlfriend.
What advice would you give my listeners if they wanted to grow up and work for a big company and being a data analyst?
Sure. So I think really make sure it's what you want to do. You should never get into something for money. They say the money will follow, but like I have been lucky that I am in a very fortunate space, both revenue wise, but I know I would be more than happy to take like huge pay cut if I didn't enjoy what I'm doing. And I think the big thing is also just really try lots of things. Also talk to people. I got this job through a connection. I got my first job through a connection, and it's about the people and really keeping these strong connections. Like I just stay in touch with everybody. I try and make it my goal to talk to everyone I know probably at least once a year. Like my trick is on Facebook, I'll talk to everyone on their birthday. So I have at least an excuse because it's a really great reason to reach out to someone. And I think that's been one of the biggest things. And especially now that I'm near 30, it gets hard to keep your friends. And so just being like just being able to have all these people active in life, because you just drift apart, as you'll find out, and it sucks. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of those people that really, really tries to keep everyone in my life, because I really appreciate my friends and having all these awesome people that have helped me so much get through everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
I think my biggest mistake was probably how I acted on my job after Whirlpool, which was at Comcast. And that was probably the worst performing I ever did at a role. And I'm really glad I managed to get to Indeed after, where I just simply didn't take the job seriously. I wasn't invested. I had issues with my manager, and I really learned a lot about how do I prioritize things? How do I approach problems? How do I double check my work? And how do I really discuss when I hit issues with my manager in a way that I think if I had really been at where I am now, I wouldn't have had those problems 3-4 years ago.
That makes sense. So
Mhm.
when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
So, well, I work on my own podcast, which takes a lot of my free time. I also, I also really enjoy weightlifting and go to the gym every day. I told my manager my day starts at 10, so I go to the gym beforehand during off hours. I also love traveling. I've been to over 30 countries. I've been to 31 countries, just so I could say I've been to over 30. So shout out to Liechtenstein, which is number 31, which is a country with a population of about 70,000 people, where I literally stepped a foot in. But yeah, and then I also enjoy photography, and then just doing stuff with my girlfriend in New York City, like going to restaurants, going to shows, just walking around.
Nice. Well, do you play video games? And if you
Oh
do,
yeah.
what's your favorite one?
Oh man, that's a really good question. So I was playing a lot of Psychonauts 2 until I beat it, and Metroid Dread, which both just got nominated for Game of the Year. So shout out to them. I also am excited about the Halo multiplayer that's coming out. I don't know if you enjoy games like that. I also really enjoy playing like traditional games like Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, which definitely was one of my main ways to socially connect with people during COVID, when you really couldn't interact with people in person. How about you?
Mine is on Roblox, of course, and
Mhm.
so that's like free thing. And then it's probably just going to be like Funky Friday. It's a really fun game.
Mhm.
Not gonna lie, it's a rhythm game, and it's
Mhm.
based on another game called Friday Night Funkin'. It's
Oh
really
yes, of course. Oh man, I love Newgrounds.
Oh, Newgrounds, yes.
Takes me back.
So, what's your favorite book to read?
That's a good question. So I actually have pretty much read a lot of manga because of my show. So is it okay if I recommend like a manga I really like?
Sure.
So let me see. My favorite of all time is maybe Chainsaw Man, but that's a little too much for you. But if I was to recommend a manga for you to check out, have you ever heard of a series called Witch Hat Altair?
No.
So Witch Hat Altair, it's or this really wholesome. It's about a girl whose mom gets turned to stone by magic, and she decides to become a witch's apprentice so she can learn how to turn her mom back from stone. And it's this really, really fun. I think it's won like some Nebula awards, but yeah, it's this really wholesome series about a girl your age. So it's really just about a kid, and it's kind of got a little bit of the idea of Harry Potter, but it's in a very different way, and their approach to magic is drastically different. So if Harry Potter's not your style, don't let that stop you, even though it's just about kids learning. Well, then even better, because yeah, it's about 10-year-olds learning how to be wizards.
Oh, yeah. Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
I don't think so, but yeah, I mean, just working at Indeed's rad. I just got my friend. Like I said, it's so important to keep people in your life. I literally just been talking to him for catching up with him, and I referred him to Indeed, and he started his first day yesterday, and today's his birthday. So happy birthday, Gabe. It's a good way to spend your week. But yeah, and then really do appreciate if people will check out my podcast. It's been a ton of fun, and I really don't know how my life would be if I hadn't done the podcast, but I am so glad I did.
Well, do you have a Facebook for my listeners who want to follow you?
Yeah. So you can find us just at Shonen Flopcast on Facebook. I will say though, we actually don't use it a ton. So primarily Twitter is the best way if you want to connect with us on social media.
Sweet.
Or our Discord, where we just have a big Discord. It's over 300 people. We have movie nights, game nights. We have a comic book club. And then you can do stuff like ask us questions. You can suggest series for us to cover, and even get sneak peeks of what's coming on next for the series. Where next one, we're actually our next series is called Red Hood, which is by one of the apprentices of the creator of My Hero Academia. So that's going to be a really exciting read, and that was actually the first series I read recreationally that got canceled. So it's a bit of a somber one.
Oh yeah, Discord's my favorite. I also have.
There you go.
Discord, so I can
Oh, awesome.
get on.
Yeah, we just keep absorbing Discords for other series for other like podcasts that died out. We just take them.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Oh man. Let me see. How about I'm trying to think of a question I have a good answer to. How about, what is the strangest coincidence you've ever had in your life?
Well, what is it?
So I worked as an orientation assistant in college, which essentially just meant I kind of like helped make sure people that joined school had like a really good time. And so we had an orientation leader, and they were the ones who trained us. You know, if we had any issues, we went to them. And I was in Croatia. And so I was on the balcony of my hotel, just relaxing, enjoying the breeze. And I hear someone say with an American accent, Henrietta. And that's the city that my school, RIT, so Rochester Institute of Technology, not in Rochester. It's very confusing. It's in Henrietta. And I look down, and guess who I see sitting at the table? My boss from when I was an orientation assistant. And I say, Gina. And she says, David, what the frick? But, you know, she didn't say frick. What are you doing in Croatia? So we got a photo together and sent it to the team using our old group chat. Well, hey, look who I ran into Croatia. So I think that's my favorite coincidence I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Well, thank you, David, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Oh, I am not good at math, but I can certainly try.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, David, for helping me with Math Corners. Today, we're going to talk about charts. Now, we have talked about measuring in patterns and units. So now, when you put them all together, you get to make charts. So, you use charts to record and store data in a way that is very readable. This can be used for data analysis, like what you do.
Yeah.
So first, when you make a chart, you have to have a unit of measure. This could be a count, a distance, or a weight. So, if I wanted to chart the heights of people, I would measure its feet in inches. So, now that you have the unit of measure, you have to chart, you have to make a list of things being charted, right? So, in our example, we list people. So, we have our guest, David, my dad, and I. So, next you have values. Values are what is being charted. So, if you were charting the heights of people, I would be first because I'm the shortest. And then you would mark the number of my height. Then you would do that for everyone in the list. So, how tall are you?
I am 5'6" on a good day.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I am the shortest then.
Yeah. Oh, I was
So
going to say,
far.
make sure to drink more milk.
Oh. Well, then you would either draw circles or stars or bars to show that value visually. Now, if you are going to read the chart, you would look on the side to see what is being charted. You might even see a title at the top. Then when you look at the values in sort of an order, then that works for you. Now, you can compare those values and use them in equations or make large word problems with them. So, David, do you now know all about how to make and read charts?
For the most part, yeah. I hope so.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, David, for your help with the Math Corners.
Oh, thank you.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
You know what that means? It's now time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions and acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. The qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. I saw nobility with Mrs. Claus and Mr. Stenius and Mrs. Eakins. They even ran an event that brought sons and mothers from the school to the park and play cornhole, football, kickball, and have lots of food and etc. And they set up this event and then gave us hats. This was very selfless of their time since most schools don't do park events where they give you stuff. They ensured that we had a lot of fun with our mothers and celebrated Mom and Son Day. So David, did you see or use nobility at all this week?
Yeah, I think so. So I've really been working on being more of a noble person just because I've really sat back and really thought about how I'm in a much more fortunate financial spot than a lot of people in my life. So I've really decided to dedicate myself to really helping people. So like, for instance, usually the par for the course was when my parents come to visit, they pay for dinner. So I decided to flip the script on them and pay for my parents and my sister, even though, you ride that till the wheels fall off for your parents willing to pay for dinner. But I said, you know what? I'm almost 30. I'm doing pretty well in my life. Why don't I treat you? You guys are, yeah, you're like, I'm not listening to this at all. Also, never get off the phone plan. No, I'm riding that one to the grave. So you make sure. But yeah, so I think that's really a way I've been trying to be a little bit more noble, is really recognizing there's a lot of people in my life not as financially fortunate. And, I can definitely do more than my fair share for people that are just not in as comfortable a position as I am.
Well, of all of the heart of the lion virtues, which is your favorite?
That's a good question. So I think that I would say integrity is really important. Like, that's one of the things that has made me enjoy Indeed so much, is everyone is so caring and so honest, because there are a lot of companies where it's competitive, where you have to worry, is my coworker going to backstab me? Do they, are they trying to push you down to get up? But I really appreciate that I don't have to be paranoid. I know everyone I'm working with wants the best for everyone else at the company. And that's really one of the things that makes me so excited to work at Indeed.
Nice. Well, we should try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we, David?
Oh, yes, exactly. I actually saw some lions when I was at the zoo last week, so I wish I had known about this before, and I could have, yeah. So I'll let you know next time I see a lion if they hold up to their standards.
Sweet. And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing David Weinberger for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today, and I hope that I get to visit your office the next time that I'm in New York.
Hey, that would be awesome. It's a really fun office. We actually have a floor where no one works on. We have a pool table and video games and snacks, so I think you'd quite enjoy a tour of the office.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to what's next thing on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!